Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. Today we're taking a look at a hunter build that may just take the cake for the most ability spam in the entire game. In this clip, we throw 8 grenades without doing anything besides just throwing a grenade. There is no warlock build, there is no titan build, there is no other hunter build that gets close to this amount of abilities spam. And on top of that, the abilities that we do get to spam are incredibly lethal, and we get tons of healing without even needing kills. So I think you can imagine that this build actually ends up being really, really good. And with that said, I want to let you guys know that there is a dim link down in the description. That way you can click a one button and get this build for yourself. There are also timestamps down there. That way you can skim through the video and get whatever information you want easily. And also, we do have a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Aniba, a marketplace where you can purchase all things gaming, but at reduced prices. We're talking games, gift cards, even in-game items, and every Destiny DLC is like 10 bucks or less here. There are literally thousands of titles across all platforms, and you can use my promo code or affiliate link down in the description and the comment to get yourself an extra discount at checkout too. And on that note, you can buy with confidence as every seller is reviewed, Aniba covers chargebacks, and Aniba has a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot too. But that's not all. We've got another big plus coming from Snacksy. Snacksy is a leading play to earn platform powered by Aniba, where you can play RPGs, puzzle games, strategy games, all to earn coins, and then you can turn those coins into gift cards for all your favorite places. If you want to check out Aniba or Snacksy, use the QR codes on screen, use the links in the description, and specifically for Snacksy, use code TOYDDESTINY to get a $10 sign-up bonus. There's a lot to love from the sponsors today, and again, thank you Aniba for helping out the channel. Now, to begin the build breakdown, we want to take a look at the ability that we're going to be spamming the most, and that is our arc grenade, specifically the skip grenade. Looking at this ability at its base form, when we throw it, it will bounce and then separate into a bunch of seeking projectiles. These projectiles can lock onto one target or spread around if you throw them into a group of ads, but a single grenade, after all is said and done, will deal 350 damage. And with all honesty, this really isn't that much, but of course, this is it in its base form and before we actually get our hands on it. So jumping straight over to the first thing, it's going to make our grenades deal a ton more damage, make them a lot more lethal, and give them more uptime. We have the exotic armor piece for this build, which is Shinobu's Vow. This exotic reads, gain an additional skip grenade charge. Skip grenade damage grants bolt charge, and gaining bolt charge grants skip grenade energy. When bolt charge is ready, you heal nearby allies and enhance your next skip grenade. So taking a look at the first thing this exotic gives us, well, we have 2 grenade charges. This is a major boon to ability spam, as we can just always be building towards the second one, even if we have one already. The next part of this exotic is that grenade damage will give us stacks of bolt charge, and then when we get stacks of bolt charge, our grenade ability will regenerate a bit. Looking at that from one single grenade, we will get 8 hits, which directly translates to 8 stacks of bolt charge. And if you don't know or recall, 10 stacks will give us bolt charge ready, which will then summon down a lightning strike whenever we deal any ability damage. But while we get these stacks of bolt charge, we can see massive chunks of grenade energy regenerating as we deal damage. As for the next part of this exotic though, we will enhance our skip grenades whenever we get bolt charge ready. It doesn't say it, but it effectively doubles our grenade projectiles, as after getting bolt charge ready, whenever you throw your next grenade, it will split 1 extra time, creating 4 extra projectiles, doubling it. That means by throwing 1 grenade, we now deal 910 damage, which is a 260% increase. But now, as you're seeing in the background footage, you absolutely just chuck grenades on repeat. Like, so much to the point that you would think there's some wacky modifier on this activity, but there isn't. However, we can't throw this many grenades yet. So now moving on from skip grenades and bolt charge, we need to introduce you to the next component that allows us to spam our abilities, and that is ionic traces. And those have a synergy with our exotic weapon of choice in this build, which is the Cold Heart Arc Trace Rifle. This trace rifle's main exotic perk reads, this weapon shoots a steady cold fusion powered arc laser, dealing more damage the longer it remains on a target. Looking at that in game, it's pretty simple. As we hold down the trigger, we deal more damage, and you can kind of see this indicated in the meters around the reticle. But at max charge, we are dealing 80% more damage. However, the reason we run this exotic is for its second exotic perk, which reads, periodically generates ionic traces while in its high damage state. This will be an on-demand way to spawn ionic traces without needing a kill or an ability at all. These will start spawning after about a second of shooting the gun, and it doesn't even need to be consecutive shots. But as for what Ionic Traces do, well, they refund a chunk of all of our abilities. And we are going to be spawning so many of these with our weapons and our abilities. It ends up being another layer of ability spam on top of what we've already shown, which means even more grenades. Also, there is a catalyst to Cold Heart, which gives it the supercharged magazine perk, which reloads ammo while we're amplified and overflows the mag whenever we sprint while amplified. We can look at this in action where we get up to double the mag size. It's a nice catalyst, but I wouldn't really call it necessary. Now, moving on and taking a look at the main source of Ionic Traces in this build and more ability regeneration, we have our subclass. Moving left to right, the first ability that we have is our super. I often just use Gathering Storm because I enjoy the one-off nature of it, but you could easily use Arc Strider if you wanted to. For our class ability, we're using Gambler's Dodge so that we can fully regenerate our melee ability whenever we do dodge. For that melee ability, we are using Combination Blow. This melee is frankly overpowered. When getting kills with this ability, it will recharge our dodge, heal us, and increase our outgoing melee damage up to 3 times, which at max stacks is a 400% bonus. And then for our grenade, we of course need to use Skip Grenade. But now for our first aspect, we're going to use Tempest Strike. This says that we can use our melee while sliding to do an uppercut that releases a jolting and damaging wave. It also says that killing jolted enemies gives us bolt charge. Looking at this ability real quick, the uppercut is very good, and it synergizes with Combination Blow, refunding our dodge whenever we get kills with it. And thanks to Combination Blow increasing its own damage, it ends up dealing a ton, even in in-game content, allowing you to score pretty easy kills and use it as a way to heal yourself. And you might notice that we aren't dodging, but that takes us back in our subclass. We have our second aspect, which is going to be Ascension. This aspect says that we can use our air move to consume our dodge, which still activates the equipped one. This will lift us up and release an AoE that damages and jolts enemies while making allies amplified. In-game, this is just more damage in a wide radius that we can also use to get amplified on demand, which is damage resist and evasiveness, giving us pretty good survivability. But now checking out our fragments, these are very, very important in this build. They modify how quickly we get our abilities back and how often we can spawn Ionic Traces or get bolt charge. First up, we have Spark of Shock. This makes our arc grenades jolt, which is maybe the single most important thing in this entire build. After that, we have Spark of Frequency, which has a melee benefit to giving us reload speed and stability. We don't care about that. What we care about is that while amplified, we essentially gain double stacks of bolt charge from all sources, where one thing would give us 1 bolt charge. When amplified, we now get 2. Next, we have Spark of Ions, which says defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with bolt charge creates an Ionic Trace. Literally every enemy is going to be jolted, so that means lots of Ionic Traces, and we're actually going to double up here a lot too. Then we have Spark of Discharge, where arc weapon final blows have a chance to create Ionic Traces, and then collecting an Ionic Trace will also give us bolt charge. There's a lot of synergy here. And then lastly, we have Spark of Resistance, which will give us damage resist when near 3 or more enemies. Pretty good. At coming out our subclass, I want to talk about our other weapon options quickly. And really, those can be whatever you want. I ran a Rocket Pulse plus a Heavy Sniper for boss damage, but you can really use anything. And I actually mean you can use anything. You don't need Cold Heart for this build. Cold Heart is essentially just a way to get more Ionic Traces, but you have so many of those already, it doesn't matter what you use. You could use Lightsaber, you could use Delicate Tomb, you could use no exotic at all, or an exotic for DPS. Whatever it may be, you can use it, and you'll find this build performing just fine. But of course, I do recommend Cold Heart. But now let's take a look at what actually takes this build to the next level, and that's going to be our artifact. And there were lots to choose from actually, but there's one that kind of just doubles how strong this build is. We get more stacks of everything, more healing, more damage. It does a lot, and it ends up being the Tablet of Ruin as our artifact of choice. Now, looking at how we actually build ours, going left to right, first up is Dielectric. Defeating arc debuffed enemies gives us bolt charge, and then rapidly defeating arc debuffed enemies spawns an overpower and heals us. This is a lot of healing and even more bolt charge. Next is Elemental Siphon, which will cause Cold Heart to spawn Ionic Traces, and also whenever we pick up an Ionic Trace, we get super energy. Then we have Flashover, which will give us amplified whenever we get maximum bolt charge, as if we needed it, but also bolt charge lightning strikes deal more damage, which is pretty good as we output a metric ton of them. Next is Gold from Lead, just for some heavy ammo, I guess. It's kind of just something pretty passive. Next, we have Harsh Refraction, where it says Trace Rifles do more damage to targets affected by elemental debuffs matching their element type. Cold Heart is going to do more damage to jolted enemies. It's pretty intuitive here. Then next, we have Defibrillating Blast, where when we stun a champion, we will get instant max bolt charge, and all bolt charges will jolt enemies that heal them and heal us when they go off. And then lastly, we have Limit Break, where if we cast a super while critical, or if we have amplified, it'll just deal more damage. Now moving forth, we have our armor to talk about, including armor set bonuses, which is another pretty important thing in this build. Starting with the stats, the first thing we want to focus on is the grenade stat. Up to 100, we get the shortest cooldown, but then above 100, we deal bonus grenade damage, which is what we want. Then after that, we want high class and melee so that both those abilities have no trouble regenerating each other when we use them. Remember, melee kills refund our dodge and dodge refunds our melee. Other than that, putting stats into super weapons is fine for whatever it ends up being. But now onto our armor set bonuses, we are using the Luminopotent set. This set, for its 2-piece bonus, really doesn't do a whole lot for us. It's just some bonus stats while amplified to certain weapon types, but the 4-piece is frankly insane. The 4-piece says that final blows with jolt or against jolted combatants create ionic traces. And there's no cooldown here, which means every kill we get with our grenades or against any enemies that our grenade hits will spawn ionic trace. So yeah, literally every enemy. And that is a lot more ionic traces, which is more bolt charge, more healing, more super, you know the drill. Also, to show off our grenade with max stats and everything else in this build cooking now, we deal 1700 damage with 1 grenade. And of course, as you know, we can throw them nearly infinitely. Again, what you're seeing right now is against a single target that doesn't die, so we're not getting kills or that ability regen, but yeah, we're throwing so many back to back. And you can imagine how much energy we would be getting if we actually got kills. Although, you don't have to imagine, you can kind of just see that in the background footage. But now to finish off the armor section, we have our armor mods. On the helmet, we run a special ammo finder, a special ammo scout, and then an arc scavenger, so our cold heart makes orbs. On our arms, we run triple firepower so that our grenade makes orbs pretty much on every kill. The chest piece is just for resist, dependent on your activity. Our legs get a recuperation, so we get a small chunk of health back on orb pickup, an innervation, so that we get a small amount of grenade energy on orb pickup, and then an absolution, so that we get a chunk of everything on orb pickup too. Then our class item has a special finisher for ammo on demand, a powerful attraction, so whenever we dodge or send, we get to suck up orbs nearby, and then a proximity ward to become invincible when doing finishers. But now finally, we have our gameplay loop. And this begins usually by doing an ascension so that we get amplified, which is DR and evasiveness. Then we just go to town with skip grenades. After the first skip grenade, we should get bolt charge ready, which will then enhance every other skip grenade we throw, as they'll just chain bolt charge infinitely. We'll then immediately be in the territory of also infinite grenades and infinite healing. At this point, I could literally tell you to just throw grenades and just to build, but there's a little bit more to piloting it. You want to aim for tankier enemies with your skip grenades if you can, as we get ability regen on damage hits rather than kills themselves. But while running around, chain Tempest Strike into Ascension so that both our melee and grenades become totally lethal. Remember that 3 kills with our melee will make it deal the most damage. Also, using and getting kills with either our grenade or our melee will give us a ton of health back on top of the passive health regeneration that we're getting with every bolt charge strike and every bolt charge stack. And there should be so many bolt charge strikes happening that you're just going to be healing without even getting those kills. Cold Heart really is supplemental here. You can honestly swap it for something else if you want to, like I said earlier, but regardless of what enemy you see, be it a boss, a champion, or fodder, using your abilities is truly the best answer to everything. And that includes your super too. Don't forget you have it. You're getting a lot of super energy thanks to our artifacts. I do tend to save it for groups of champions or bosses though, but yeah. This build is truly like no other. I don't know what Bungie was thinking, giving us infinite grenades for free, but here we are. With that, I think that is everything I want to showcase for this build. Thank you for getting this far into the video. Your viewership means an absolute ton to me. I'm on the road to 50K eventually. Cannot get there without your help. Who knows? Is it Destiny? Is it a different game? Hopefully you'll stick around and see. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you want to support me, support the channel, a like, a comment, a subscription, coming over to my Twitch channel, which is linked in the description, saying hi to me there. That means a ton. Joining my community Discord server too, if you particularly like my stuff, that also would make my day. But if you want to support me, support the channel, but you can't think of a comment down below, Shinobu. With that, as usual, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around.